I'm your host, Makari Kim, and I'm here for all your bookish needs. I am so blessed to be in this space. Like Kim Doolittle. How you doing, girl?
I am doing good. How are you?
You know, I'm hoping that the TSA will calm down and the straight will get back open. So that's where I'm at. It's not take $5 for gas.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but trying to find the joy like where I can find it and stuff like this. So I feel you.
Like this conversation.
Yeah.
Like this conversation. So what we like to do is kind of have a snowball. Because I'm from Baltimore, so that's what we do. Also a
Yes.
vibe worker. What was your last 5-star read?
Ooh.
I know, tough question.
So I think my last 5-star read was Vagabonds by Elgosha. I can't pronounce her last name, but do you know what I'm talking about? That
Yes,
book?
I do.
It's
It's good. Okay, because it's
it's
on my
crazy.
ever-growing TBR.
Yeah,
But
it's I feel like I've just never read anything like it, which is what makes it just stand out to me. I don't know. I read it and I was like, I need to start writing again. It's just that it's good. It's really good.
it's good. Okay, so I need to go and read it. I think my last 5-star read recently was the Seven Daughters of Dupree.
Okay.
Um, and that wrecked me, and I told Nikisha it wrecked me when I interviewed her because
Yes.
it opened up stuff I wasn't prepared to open, just like yours. So,
That's on my list of I love like mother-daughter dynamics like that. I just love that. So that's on my list to read, but I've been hearing like it makes people cry and I don't want to cry. So,
well, the ending will make you cry.
okay.
But, but, with a caveat, it's because, like, she starts at the beginning and ends at the beginning.
Okay.
You will understand once you read it.
Okay, it's like on my list, so
But you will be sad, but you'll also be very happy because you know, like, all the descendants are now good.
okay.
So, yeah, not a great, but it is an amazing book. It is an amazing book. So for guys, so if you guys don't know, I'm going to let you guys know all about our guests. And so we are so blessed to have you here. And because you are a rising voice in a debut.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, you are. And so you're a rising voice in both legal and literary world, seemingly built blending her Nigerian American heritage with her passion for writing and advocacy. As a first generation Nigerian American, Kende brings a unique perspective to her work as a commercial litigation associate, which I don't know how you do that in right equipment, so we're going to talk about that, at a prominent law firm in Denver. With a keen eye for storytelling and a commitment to justice, she navigates the complexities of the legal landscape with skill and determination. Beyond her legal career, she is an accomplished writer with 2 academic publications to her name and a recent poetry feature in esteemed publications such as Bandit Fiction and African Writers magazine. Drawing inspiration from her multicultural background, her writing explores themes of identity, belonging, and the human experience with depth and specificity. With a knack for storytelling that transcends genres, she positions herself for making a long-lasting impact both in the courtroom and on the literary scene. Her work reflects a deep commitment to amplifying first voices and advocating for positive change, making her a powerful voice to be reckoned with both in law and literature. Today we're talking about her debut novel, Flooding the River, a multi-generational story of love, grief, identity, and healing that follows 3 Nigerian American women across continents and generations. And with that, let's get into it. Welcome to
Yes.
the pod. So for folks who don't know about Flooding the River, in your own words, what is Flooding the River about?
I would say Flooding the River is a adult coming of age novel, but it's about identity, it's about love, it's about family, it's about the sacrifices that, kind of come before us and form our life. Through the main character, you see I don't know, you just see what it looks like to grow up as a multicultural, specifically Nigerian American person, both here in the States and then going back to Nigeria, and how your identity informs your relationships with your parents, the people around you, and also how you fall in love and stay in love.
Ooh, fall in love and stay in love.
Yes.
Yes. So you are a first generation yourself.
Yes.
You're a commercial litigator in Denver, and now you're a novelist. What can't the girl do? Right? Just right. How did flooding the river come out of all the world, the places you touched?
Yeah, I always so like, I feel like all my like Africans, Nigerians listening to this will know you when you grow up you're supposed to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. So
Okay,
my
we are
path,
engineer.
okay. So
My
I
friend
wanted
is
to be a
her
writer.
dad. Did you hear all
Literally.
her dad, her brother?
I wanted to be a writer, which obviously doesn't fit into one of those categories. My mom's a doctor. She's like, just be a doctor. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a doctor. I have a twin sister as well. And so I went into undergrad and I was pre med because I was like, okay, I'm going to study psychology and I'm going to be pre med. And then, I took Bio 101 and it just was not, I was like, this is not the life that I want for myself. So I switched over to being an English major. I've always just loved writing. And I think I just like still remember that day very clearly, but I just knew I wanted to write. And then eventually, as I got older, the voices got back to me. Okay, you want to be a writer? Well, just be a lawyer, because that's the closest thing to being a writer. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to law school. But I think I'm finally in a space where I'm like, okay, I don't have to choose one or the other. I can be both. And I feel like that realization just happened like literally last week. I'm like, wait, what if I do both for like the rest of my life? I feel like I'm just getting to a place where I'm like, that's what I want.
Ooh. So it seems like based on your writing of identity, belonging, and human experience, your main character also, Lily, is also navigating all three of these things at once.
Hmm.
Identity, belonging, human experience. How much of her searching for her belonging mirrors your own experience as a first kid?
Yeah, I think it's her story. I mean, obviously, fiction is fiction, but I do
Right.
think your life informs the fiction that you write. And I think
Mhm.
for me, that's something that I like about fiction. You can take little bits and pieces of your life and kind of just change the story to what you want it to be. So I think those themes are present in my life. And then I kind of just channeled them into this character who I got to like mold and make up. And I think but those themes were present for me. And I wanted to fictionalize them in a character. So I think we're really tied together in that way, in both being Nigerian American. But I think I don't know, she has it more figured out than I did at that age. Yeah.
Maybe wishful thinking,
Yeah.
back then, back then. If you don't mind, would you open to reading an excerpt?
Yes. Wait, can I stand up and grab it? It's like right.
Yeah, you
Okay,
can
I'm
read
sorry. I
it.
should have like, I don't know why I don't have it with me.
It's okay. It's totally fine. We are living life.
Here she is.
Gorgeous. Also, I love your cover. So whoever did it, kudos to them because I know it's hard work making the cover stuff.
Yeah, she's the cover designer. Her name's Capricia. She's just like the best. She really like captured, I don't know, she just captured my vision perfectly. Okay,
I love that. I love when the vision
let's see.
is.
I'm going to read the last paragraph.
Okay.
But then it kind of gives away well, actually people don't know, so you have to read it. It'll give you some context, but I'm going to read the last paragraph. And it says, what Lola came to realize later, as she rested his sleeping head on her shoulder, was that love was a lifelong endeavor that showed up at celebrations and on weekdays and when it didn't want to. Love showed up as poems and green couches and shared favorite books. It showed up in big ways and in small ways, on deathbeds and at funerals. She's love. She was love, and of that she was certain. His love was like the misty rain in the old proverb, coming softly but flooding the river. Done.
I love also when an author puts the title in the sequence. It does something to it. It scratches a part.
No, yes. And it's so interesting because originally this book was named Lola, and then
Mhm.
my book manager was like, let's just think of other names to name the book, to reread it again and see what stands out to you. And then I got to the last line and I'm like, well, flooding the river stands out to me because I just love that. And I think it encompasses something in this book. To me, it's like all the big things in your life are filled with all the little moments. And it just,
Mhm.
the last line talks about how the misty rain floods the river. Because you never think, like, oh, all this misty rain, like, well, no, it accumulates. And that can accumulate to flood a river. Just like all the little moments in your life end up in like all these big things, like this big love that the character wanted for herself. So I'm like, okay, that's going to be the title.
I really, really love that. And let's talk about love. The novel holds three women: Lola, Yvonne, Auntie Kay. I love Auntie. And it shows there is no single way to be an African woman in love. What did you want readers to sit with in terms of how each of them process love in grief differently?
Yeah, I think for me, it was originally going in, I knew I wanted to write about love in general. When you think about love, you think about, I guess, when I think about love, I think about romantic love. But then it really, as I started to write the novel, I thought, well, there's so many different types of love. There's love between, these three women. There's familial love, there's friendship love. So I wanted the reader to see kind of how those three women show up, both as, I know, romantic loves in their lives, but also how they show up for each other. I think with Yvonne, which is Lola's mom, the main character, I think through her you really see that love is sacrifice because of in the prologue, I feel like the decisions that she makes, she
Wow.
chooses herself and, she chooses herself for her daughter's sake. And then as you read the rest of the novel, you kind of have that background that, even though Lola might, I don't know, there's like a misunderstanding between her and her mom, but the reason behind her mom's decisions is love. And even though she's not necessarily showing it up for her in a way that maybe she would want as a daughter, but I think for Yvonne specifically, I wanted it to be love as sacrifice. For the main character, I wanted to show that love was, I don't know, it's hard. Love is hard. It forces you to really like make decisions that maybe you're not ready to make, and maybe that, but love is more than just a feeling. Love is action. And I think that it just shows kind of the realities of love. You can't just say, "Oh, I love you," and everything's happy. Like love requires more. Love requires more from the people involved and requires you to look within. So I think for the main character, I wanted that to be kind of present, just all that love encompasses. And then for Auntie Kay, I just wanted to show that, there's different timelines for people. In the story, she's older, and, her love story, her happy ending comes at a later time in life. So I feel like for her, it's just to show, like, I don't know, love is unexpected. It shows up in a way that you would never imagine, and it doesn't necessarily have to fit one specific story, but, you can be 40 something and fall in love. So I think just showing three different ways that love shows up in everyone's life, honestly.
No, no, I really, really love that. And the choice to make this an intimate, multi-generational story is very important because as someone who is moving into their next phase, me, that is, I'm moving to the next phase of life, getting married, I always think about like the women in my life and the different ways that love has shown up for
Yep.
them. And they are also living this life the first time as well, and giving that grace. And I think that, Yvonne having sacrifices is sometimes that's the only thing you think is love is sacrifice.
Yeah.
And that is very beautiful to watch. But why did you feel like it was necessary to show sacrifice as a part of love?
It's so interesting because, like, when I first started writing this, I was 20 something, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm 30. And when I first wrote this, I kind of understood or sided more with Lola, thinking, her mom keeps these secrets from her. Like, yes, her mom sacrificed everything for her, but her mom never told her what she sacrificed. So she's
Mhm.
living this life not knowing what her mom sacrificed. And, I kind of felt like, her mom owed her the story. Her mom should have told her all she went through, all she sacrificed. But now, as I'm older, I'm like, well, her mom, like you just said, is living this life also for the first time. And her mom is also doing her best. And her mom showed up for herself and then for her daughter in the best ways that she knew how. So, like, she doesn't even necessarily, it's just difficult. Like, does she necessarily owe, Lola or owe her daughter her story? Or does she
Mhm.
owe her, like, to show up for her as a mother? So, I think when I was younger, I just think as I got older, I understood love as sacrifice more now. But I knew it was always important. But I think I saw it as important through like a daughter's point of view. Like, okay, your parents sacrificed for you, but they need to let you know what they've sacrificed. And now I'm like, your mom is your mom, and she is also a woman and a girl, and she lived this whole life, and she just, I don't know, you're not necessarily entitled to her story just by being her daughter. So I can just see both sides. But I think
Mhm.
in seeing both sides, sacrifice still shows up for me.
I just had this conversation recently with another author about do do mothers owe their daughters their story? And you're touching all on it
Yeah.
throughout this book. And what I worry about though is if we told the story, are we allowing growth of the next generation? I mean, Lola did end up finding,
Yeah.
love in a way that feels good.
Yeah.
But I think about that often. So I don't know. I don't know the
I
answer.
think
I
that's
don't.
well, I think that's a really good question because even in her story and her like quest for love, maybe if she knew her mom's story, maybe if she knew the story of her birth or like her mom and dad's relationship, maybe that would have informed, you know, maybe she would have got to love sooner or got to love in a different way or not had to go through certain things. So I do think it informs generate like it's generational. It definitely informs the next generation. But then it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I need to think about that, but I like what you just said though.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still thinking on it. I really am. So, at Birmingham Books, we're always bookishly healing through life. And I believe books are the premise to open up to these conversations we're having
Mhm.
right now. And Flooding the River definitely felt like it was written in that same spirit. Was writing this novel healing for you? And if so, like, what?
Yeah, I think it was healing for me all in two ways. Firstly, because I knew I wanted to write, I knew I wanted to be an author, and then just finally putting the pen to paper and doing the thing that I've always wanted to do. I think that is healing to show up for yourself and say, like, I want this life, and then doing the steps it takes to get there. So I think it was healing in that way. And then also just the story, writing about love in a way that I could reshape at that time or before I wrote this book, like I'd studied abroad in Ghana, I had met someone, fallen in love. So it's like, I get to rewrite this love story. I get to like write the love story that I maybe would have wanted or a love story that is just like different than what I have experienced. So for me it was healing and that like I got to decide. Like the story was my story, this was my character. I was in control of all the pieces. I knew all everyone's intentions. So it gave me control of like love, I guess, in a way that maybe I didn't have it at that time in my life. So it felt healing in that way too.
I love that. And then also spotlighting Auntie Kay and her finding love much later in her life.
Hmm.
Why did you find it was important to show a more seasoned love story?
Yeah. For me, it's interesting because I never really thought about that aspect of her until just talking to other readers later on. Because originally, like I don't know, I don't know if you're supposed to have favorite characters, but she is my favorite character because I feel like she just shows up for the people in her life. She shows up for her best friend's daughter. She shows up for just everyone, even if they don't necessarily show up for her. And I think she really just shows like what a good friend is and like what a good auntie is. And I think for me, like I wanted her, I don't know, I wanted to just show different happy endings for Black women, period. So
Yeah.
happy endings look different for all of us, but I wanted each of the characters to get their own happy ending in some way. So that was kind of the driving force behind maybe her finding love later in life. But then you see throughout the novel, she's just a really great friend. And that's, I don't know, that was primarily my focus on her, showing her as a great friend. But then, okay, well, you're a great friend, but also you get love, and here's your happy ending at the end, even though, she goes through her own stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you made the choice to write this intimate multi-generational story in third person. What did that narrative distance give you that you don't, that you probably couldn't do if you did it in first person?
Yeah, people who write in first person, I don't know how they do it. I'm so just like in awe of them. I write everything in third person because I feel like I think just my writing style works better for third person. So it was just a given. But I remember when I was querying this novel, one agent who was like thinking about signing me was like, I would like you to write this whole thing in first person. She's like, are you open to that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm open. But I really internally, I'm like, I'm not open to that. I don't know.
You're like, I can't do it.
Yeah, like first person to me, I don't even know. I just can't write in first person. So third person is just like my default. It just has. And then I think writing this novel in first person would have made me feel even more like I was the character. And I really wanted to, because we have such similar like backstories, that I really wanted it to be separate. Like, no, there's no confusion in who's who here.
I love that. I really do. Cause I get it. Like sometimes I can write in first person. Like if I'm doing something cute, like a little short story, and then I'm like, ooh, this is getting hard. I'm getting confused. And now I'm like, am I talking about me or am I talking about the book? Like
Exactly.
now I want out of that. You know, no.
Yeah.
You also you have two academic publications alongside your creative work. How
Yes.
does that scholarly analytical mind show up or intentionally not show up in your fiction?
Yeah. Ooh, now I actually have three. So I was like, but it's interesting because going to law school, my writing, just legal writing and like creative writing are just so different. And even just academic writing in general, because I got my master's before I went to law school. And my first semester of law school was very difficult. It like, even thinking about yeah.
I'm just me and my friends who go to law school. I've heard y'all. I don't know how y'all do it. It's like, ooh,
Like, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. But just that for my writing style was just so different. And I think that now, something one of my legal writing professors told me was like, in law, just think of the creativity aspect, not necessarily as like the flowery language, but how you structure an argument. So that's where your creativity goes, how you're going to structure this argument, and not necessarily in writing the most beautiful sentence. Because I'm very concerned with writing beautiful sentences. I just love a good sentence. Like it's everything to me. Yes.
okay, I get
Yes.
it with you there.
Yeah, and then but in legal writing, they're like, "Oh, just say it like the cat is black." And I'm like, "No, the cat is I don't know, there's just like I don't know. So it's just really reframing what creativity looks like. So I've just told myself in legal writing, creativity is how I structure the argument, how I tell the story. There's not necessarily room for that flowery, beautiful language, but that's okay because I have another outlet in my creative writing to do that. So I think,
And with you being an attorney of like the structure of like a legal memo or
mhm.
case, did that show up in how you structured the novel as well?
It's interesting because no, but
Okay.
now that I'm writing, I'm like, now I know the power of an outline. When I started
Mhm.
writing Floating the River, I just sat down. I was at the store and I saw this woman. I'm like, oh, she's the main character in my book. And I just started writing on my notes app. And then I like started to handwrite everything. But now, taking the structure of my legal practice, I'm like, I could really benefit from an outline. And I can really benefit, like writing a new novel. Like, I really benefit from like taking a step back and putting all the pieces together before I really form this story. So yeah, it's impacted me now, but not when I wrote this story originally.
So even with you being an attorney too, is that, I know you said it like the outline, but like the pacing of secrets, did that ever come up? Like from your legal instincts, like how you paced it out to like lay it out?
That's interesting, and I want to say no because I've never thought about that, and I feel like my legal writing doesn't inform my creative life, but I feel like my creative life kind of informs how I understand like doing legal briefs. My first year as associate, I don't know, sometimes just going from law school to actual practice, I'm like, what's happening here? But then someone said to me, like, the point of this brief is like, ask yourself, what is the story here? What am I trying to tell? Like, the judge, who's the reader. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense to me. Thinking of it in that way versus like, here's a legal brief, convince this person of this. But it's like, you're convincing them by telling the story. So I think now when I start a new brief, I'm like, okay, well, what is the story? And that informs how I write a brief. But that has come from my creative writing. Like, okay, what is the story? Legal writing, and at the end of the day, being a litigator, it's just storytelling. So, what is the story that I'm trying to tell? And I think reframing my practice in the lens of like that creativity has really helped the practice make more sense to me, like way more sense.
Okay, so what, if you were to sit down and someone would say, like, what writers or books feel like they're in conversation with Flooding the River, what would you say?
Yeah. My favorite book ever that I've ever read is Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi. And I feel like that book and this book, I mean, her writing, she's like, no one can compare to her to me. But I feel like they're in conversation. They tell similar stories about kind of identity of love and just being that book's more interesting because she's coming from Nigeria going to America, but obviously this novel's going from America to Nigeria and back. But I do think so you see two sides of the same coin. I don't know if you've read all have you read The Full Picture by Jessica Carmichael?
Oh, that's on my list.
I read that book and I was like emailed her. I'm like, our main characters are sisters. They're just like my main character is like the older because her book's YA and this is more adult fiction, but I think they overlap. But to me, the main characters are just so similar. And when I read that book, I'm like, I felt like the spirit of Flooding the River in The Full Picture. I feel like they're sisters, cousins, telling a similar story. Yeah. So I would say those two books right now is kind of what Americana always is just, and then The Full Picture really spoke to me recently. And I'm like, these two books are really
In
similar.
conversation,
Yeah.
I understand. So what do you want readers, especially those in the black women, like those black women in the diaspora feel when they close a book? They heard the last paragraph, which you just read for us, and
Hmm.
they close this book. What do you want them to feel?
I want them to feel, okay, there's two parts. In part, I want them to feel that there were some really good sentences in this book that made me feel something. Like they read a sentence and they had to stop and kind of take a step back and be like, that was really good. To me, that's what writing is about. That's what makes a book good to me. If there's just one good sentence, I'm like, oh, this was, I don't know, I think that's what I want the reader to feel. But then, just generally speaking, I want the reader to feel that I really wanted like Black women, African women to see themselves kind of in a full picture of life, you get a happy ending. Bad things can happen, but you get a happy ending at the end of the day. And I do think for me, something that was really important about Flooding the River is that it's just a story for story's sake. And I think that in fiction sometimes, especially like as a Black writer, fiction that is praised sometimes shows or focuses on like the suffering of our people. And I just really liked, for me, I wanted to just write a story. Like, this is a story of a girl, she does A, B, and C. And I think to some people that can be, I don't know, boring. But I do think as like Black creatives, Black writers, we're entitled, we also get to just tell a story for story's sake. There doesn't have to be like pain, there doesn't have to be stuff. It just is a story because I wanted to tell this story. And that was very important to me. So I think I would want the reader to just see themselves in fiction. Just, I don't know, you see yourself in this book, you could be the main character. Like there's no I don't know. That's really important to me.
I think that's very important because we deserve to be whimsy, weird, whatever normal, but like just live a life and just have a book about living a life.
Yeah.
And bad stuff does happen because it's life.
Exactly.
But we can still get past that.
Exactly. I think that's just. Have you seen? Is it called the Photograph with Issa Rae and?
Yes.
Okay, so to
I
me,
love that movie, and I don't understand why people didn't, because I really loved that movie.
exactly, and to me, that is like an example of a story for story's sake. People are like, oh, it's not about anything, nothing happened, but I'm like, this is someone's like this is life.
It did happen. He moved away for a while.
Exactly.
That's real. Like people do
Exactly.
that all the time, and then you fall in love with this person, and then they move, and you're like, I can't move my life for
Exactly.
you. And I'm also trying to figure out my own stuff with my parents and
Yeah.
go and meet my dad and all those things.
Exactly.
I really, the soundtrack was awesome, the movie
Yes.
was awesome. That's why I can't wait for you, me, and Tuscany.
Yes.
Because
But to
I
me,
love it so deep.
exactly. But to me, like that movie tells like a similar story to Flooding the River. It's
Mhm.
just a story because this is what people's lives look like. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be some crazy elaborate, like it's Monday, then it's Tuesday, then it's Wednesday. Like that, to me, like that's worthy of fiction too. Like that's worthy of a story. So that's like where I was coming from in writing this novel.
No, I totally saw through all of it, and
Yeah.
just allowing people to also figure out their parents, um, and figure out other older women in their life, and how that is also a privilege
Yeah.
too. So you can learn from those lessons, so you can expand on the love and not
Exactly.
minimize the love. So before we get ahead of here, I'm gonna do a little rapid fire.
Okay.
I'm thinking, let's go.
Okay.
Morning person or night owl?
Did you say morning person?
Or night owl?
Oh, night owl. For sure.
Write in silence or with a playlist?
Wait, for some reason I can't hear you. Say it again.
Write in silence or with a playlist?
Silence.
Okay. Coffee or tea while writing?
Coffee. I'm obsessed with coffee. I love coffee.
I know I need to chill out. Let's see. Well, you kind of already told me, but Lola Yvonne or Auntie K, whose energy do you have most days?
You know, I feel like I am Lola. Like I'm very similar to Lola, but Auntie K is my favorite character. So
Yeah.
that's my answer.
So you aspire to her.
Yeah, I inspire to be an Auntie K when I grow up.
Yeah. Courtroom or manuscript? Script. Which one stresses you out more?
Ugh, courtroom.
Last book that made you ugly cry.
Oh, I think the full picture. I was crying. Like at the end, I'm like, this is good. Yes.
Okay. A book every Nigerian American woman should read.
Americana.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay.
besides Flooding the River, of course.
Right.
Americana.
Pen and paper or laptop?
Pen and paper, for sure.
The one song that could be Flooding the River's unofficial anthem.
Ooh. Lauryn Hill, X Factor. I listened to it a lot when I was writing this, so yeah.
Okay. What's one word you would use to describe this debut?
Tender.
Mm. So before we wrap up, Erin, I know it just came fresh out.
Yes.
But are you working on anything else?
I'm working on just another novel, which with whole different themes. So I'm doing short stories as well. But I don't know. Right now my focus is flooding the river and getting it out into the hands of different readers. So I'm so excited to be here and hopefully to get some new readers and just talk to you. I love your platform. So thank you for having me. But yeah, I'm just working on more writing always in my free time.
And where can the people find you?
Yes, I am on Instagram at Ken You Reads, KenYouReads, and same on Substack.
Yes. Well, you guys heard it here. Get Flooding the River wherever you decide to put your books. And make sure you support debut authors, especially Black women authors, because you know it's already hard enough for us to tell our stories unabashed. And so I want to thank you for sharing the space with me. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for being a fan and a friend of the pod.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course, of course. And with that, y'all, that's another episode of Dot Dot Dot. But make it books. Keep reading, but always make it healing. Peace, y'all.